In Texas Hill Country, not far from Austin, there's a place that looks peaceful until you notice what's missing. A turquoise pool sits under a massive stone overhang, shaded like a cave, with a thin waterfall slipping into the water, as if nothing terrible ever happened here. This is Hamilton Pool. And once you realize that ceiling is the broken remnant of a collapsed cavern, the beauty changes shape, because you're looking at a calm surface built from failure. Hamilton Pool exists in a limestone landscape, and limestone is the kind of rock that water can erase. Over years, rainwater absorbs carbon dioxide from air and soil and becomes mildly acidic, strong enough to dissolve limestone grain by grain. That slow chemical eating creates karst terrain, springs, sinkholes, hidden channels, where the surface can look stable while hollow spaces quietly expand underneath. Hamilton Pool began as an underground cave. Water moved through it, widening cracks, dissolving rock, and enlarging the chamber. As the cavity grew, the roof thinned and stress concentrated along fractures. Eventually, the ceiling could no longer support its own weight. It failed, and a portion of the cave opened to the sky, leaving a half-roofed grotto and a natural basin that now holds water. The shape is what makes it feel unreal. The overhang reads like an intentional arch, but it's simply what didn't collapse. Jagged edges and broken lines mark where the roof gave way. Under that remaining shelf, the air cools, sound echoes differently, and the place feels like an indoor room cut into the landscape. Except the walls are unfinished, and the opening above is a permanent reminder of the moment the structure lost its balance. The pool's color adds to the illusion. Light interacting with depth, rock, and clear water can produce that striking green-blue tone, especially against pale limestone. The waterfall looks gentle, but that's part of the lesson. Formation here is not about constant violence. It's about steady processes that never fully stop. Water seeping, dissolving, undercutting, and reshaping the same surfaces over long time. Over long periods, places like this don't just erode. They also slowly rebuild in small ways. When water moves through limestone, it can carry dissolved minerals, and when it reaches open air, those minerals can precipitate back out, forming thin crusts and textured deposits along edges and splash zones. That's why the rock around a grotto can look layered and sculpted, with surfaces that seem polished in some areas and rough in others. It also helps explain why footing here can be unpredictable. Wet limestone and mineral-coated rock becomes slick fast, especially under constant spray. Even the waterline can shift the mood. After heavy rains, flow can rise, the pool can darken, and the grotto feels more confined. In drier periods, the space looks calmer but exposes more raw rock. The same system that created the collapse continues to modify the scene in subtle ways, reminding you this isn't a finished landmark. It's an active process. What changes the mood is realizing the overhang is not shelter. It's a leftover fragment of a roof that already failed once. The grotto is stable enough to exist, but it is also a product of collapse, and the surrounding limestone system still behaves like a system, full of voids, channels, and weaknesses that can evolve with water flow and weather. In karst terrain, the most dramatic change often arrives late, after a long period of invisible preparation. Stand under the overhang for a moment, and the scene starts to feel staged, like a set built from real stone. The ceiling above is pitted and uneven, darker where moisture lingers, lighter where dry rock catches the sun. Ferns and moss cling to seams in the limestone, like the cliff is trying to stitch itself back together. Spray hangs in the air as a fine mist, and each drop leaves tiny wet fingerprints on the rock face. The pool shifts color with every passing cloud, from bright turquoise to deep green, while the shadow line creeps and retracts across the water like a slow curtain. When the waterfall hits the surface, it doesn't just splash. It churns a small, constant turbulence that makes the whole grotto sound larger than it is, as if the stone is amplifying the water's presence. It's beautiful, but it's the kind of beauty that keeps reminding you the roof above is incomplete. So the real question isn't just how this pool formed, it's what the formation implies. How many similar cavities exist nearby, slowly widening in darkness, with no obvious sign from the surface until the moment they open. Hamilton Pool is a landmark, but it's also a demonstration of what water can do to rock when it's given enough time. Hamilton Pool also shows how quickly a fragile geological feature becomes a modern pressure point. Once a place like this becomes famous, the challenges are practical. Protecting the rock and habitat, controlling erosion from foot traffic, managing safety near slippery edges and falling debris, and limiting access when conditions make the site unstable. The science doesn't change because people visit, but the risks and impacts do. Impact on modern life is clearest in what Hamilton Pool forces communities to do: manage tourism inside a delicate karst environment. It becomes a case study in conservation and access, permits, closures, capacity limits, because the feature is both iconic and vulnerable. More broadly, it mirrors a real planning concern across limestone regions. Sinkholes and subsurface voids can affect land use, development decisions, and safety planning in ways that aren't obvious until the ground changes. If this place made you realize how thin the line is between wonder and collapse, like this video and subscribe to Off the Map. And the next episode takes that idea and scales it up into something vast. Carlsbad Caverns, New Mexico. What lives in this giant cave? Hamilton Pool is one chamber that failed. Carlsbad is a hidden world that never had to collapse to become terrifying. Because down there, the darkness is already inhabited.